Welcome to StuDIYo Lab and to the latest of our tutorial projects, this one being our tissue box house. Based around the standard tissue box that you're going to pick up off the supermarket shelf, in this case a tissue cube for me, cuboid, and that's going to be important to get that first because that's going to determine the sizes of the walls and the pitch of the roof that we're going to cut out. So get one of those first before you begin this project. Basic equipment you're going to need are grades of sandpaper, a basic stationery kit including some coloured pencils. You're going to need your hot glue gun that you're going to use with an adult later on to stick pieces on your house, and are going to use your new pieces of wood before we begin. As we proceed to measure our tissue box, the box that you've bought, there is a rule that we have to follow regardless of which one you've managed to obtain, and that is that 2 of the sides are marked out exactly, and 2 of the sides are marked out exactly plus 5 millimeters and 5 millimeters. The reason for that is that the walls of our tissue box house, if I can just demonstrate using these 2 pieces of wood here, the walls of our tissue box house are actually going to go together like so. So one piece is going to fit inside the other 2. So we've got 2 inside walls and 2 outside walls. That will start to make sense as we go along. For me, because my cuboid that I picked up is actually rectangular, it just made sense for me to do the sides, the wide sides, if you like, without the roof pitch, and the shorter sides are the ones with the roof pitch. So for me, what I did was I measured these 2 exactly, draw around that one exactly, draw around the opposite one exactly, and my 2 ends I drew round and I measured a height of 6 centimeters up. I just figured that was a nice height for my roof, so I'm coming 6 up from the center, and I'm joining this point to the pitch, the 6 high, and this point to the 6 high. Okay, and on the width of these 2, I've actually made them 5 millimeters wider that way and 5 millimeters wider that way, because my 2 side walls are going to go inside those 2. If I can use my fingers there just to demonstrate that. Okay, so I've gone ahead and marked out my pieces. So on my piece of wood here, I've got my 2 side walls without the pitch. I've got then my 2 end walls with the pitch of the roof. So one more time, the height of the roof I've measured 6. You can decide for yourself. I've drawn that angle on there, and on the 2 side ones, they don't have the pitch of the roof. Okay. So first things first, using the skills of straight line cutting being trying to follow down the line as accurately as we can, pushing down, pushing forward, pushing slowly. And on a big sheet, remember that when your fingers go past, you want to always be bringing them back so they're constantly within the vicinity of the blade here, using those 2 holes either side roughly as a guide to where your fingers should be. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out the 4 basic walls of my house. And we can see now, constantly referring to the tissue box that you bought, constantly have that with you, continuously checking that you're on the right track here. And I chose to generate already a pile of off-cut pieces. Don't throw those away, we're going to need those. So I've got here my two side walls, which I've cut pretty much exactly, and my two, what I call the pitch walls, the apex walls, the walls that include the apex of the roof. So it's this exactly, +5 and +5, okay? Because if I turn it this way round, I hope that you can see, I'm going to put that inside for now, I hope that you can see that I've got some extra 5 down this side and some extra 5 down this side, because this one is going to go up against that, like so. Hoping that makes sense. All right? In fact, in that position. Good. So the 4 walls of my house are done. And as always, when we go through the saw with wood with our saw, we get these ragged, rough edge pieces on there, which I like to get rid of as I go along. It doesn't take very long at all. You'll see the rough wood sticking up from that as you go through. So we're just going to remove that as we go along for the 4 pieces. Now you may have noticed that we have 2 pairs of walls. We have 2 the same and another 2 the same. So if you want to, as you're cutting this out, you could cut 1 and use it as a template to mark out the second one. So if you think you might have drifted inside the line slightly, or this one is a little bit off, it's no use getting the other one exact because they're then going to be different. So if you do 1, you might want to draw around that for the second one, and when you've done one of these, draw around that for the second one. So we have 2 pairs of walls. Okay. Now on these walls, I'm just going to quickly show you the different options for doors and windows that you might want to put on here. I'm going to do that before I stick this together, because some of them are actually easier to get at while we have 4 separate walls. Okay. So there's all my edges smoothed off. My 2 pairs are nice and smooth now. So I'm just going to go ahead and demonstrate some of the decoration options, some of the options that you can go through to adorn the outside of your house. Okay. First one's first, I'm going to take a look at, if these are my sides, just a quick check I've got this the right way round. That's going to go on there, yes I have. Okay, so that's the top of my 2, like that. On these side ones, I'm just going to do some windows, because I want people to come in the end of the apex wall. This is my entrance. I might have a back door going out the opposite one to this. But on the 2 sides, I'm not going to have any doors. I'm just going to have windows on there. So let's go ahead and see the different ways that we can do that. Number 1, you can simply just draw them on. You can take your ruler, and it's worth investing some time in this, because the last thing you want is when you finish, you don't want crooked windows on there looking like it's gone through a slight earthquake. You want everything to be nice and parallel. So invest a little bit of time in marking this out. For me, I'm taking my ruler lined up with the edge. I'm marking 2 centimeters in from each side, 1, 2, and 1, 2. I'm going to come down here and do the same as a little guideline, just a small pencil line. I'm not going to use all of that pencil line. And I'm going to go maybe 2 in from the top and 2 down like so. So you can see already I've started to form the corners of what's going to be a window for me. I'm going to do 2 top windows here. I'm going to make those windows, what's that? I'm going to make them 3 centimeters wide each, 3 and 3. And I'm going to make them 3 wide each at the top. So these little marks that you might see on my wood, these are actually reference points. So don't go crazy and draw them with a marker or draw them too big. They're just little reference points, because now I'm going to use those to draw the actual lines themselves. So when I line up my ruler on there, I'm going to make this window just 1, 2, 3 centimeters down. Do the same here. And I've left a gap between those two because, of course, inside the house, these may be two separate bedrooms. So we've got a space between them, like so. So you can see the proportions I'm starting to use here. And now I'm going to go along using those reference points I put on earlier and complete what are going to be two window areas on mine. So those two joined up like so, and those two joined up like so. So everything's nice and straight and parallel with the edges of your house, parallel with the top as it would be on a normal building. Okay. Now one of those I'm going to go ahead and cut out internally. The other one I'm going to leave drawn on. I'm just going to put some blinds maybe on there using my graphics kit. This one down at the bottom, I'm going to go ahead and do just one down at the bottom because this will highlight the different options that you've got on there. It's basically three different options that you have. So I'm just going to do a third window down here, like so. Okay, window number one. This is where you're going to use your wood turning tool from your toolbox. If you're doing this project here at our center, we will issue you one of these. If you've gone for the home study kit and you have this at home, you'll find this in your little plastic toolbox. Okay, I'm going to put a piece of scrap wood on my machine table there, and I'm going to place the window I want to cut out, and I'm going to use it a little like a screwdriver. It's a sort of screw driving action, but instead of carrying on all the way around, I'm doing a sort of backward and back and forth action. Okay, you see how soft the wood is? It's already starting to come away. Keep checking intermittently how far you're going through. You can see I'm almost through there now. I can carry on like this, but do not put your fingers over the cutting out tool as you do this. Use a piece of scrap wood behind it so you're not in any danger of catching your finger. A few more gentle pushes and twists, and I am through. Okay, my wood cutting tool is now through there. The reason for that hole is that we can now put that hole on top of our blade, so the blade pops through the center, and I'm just going to proceed to cut out that space. This is going to be a cutout window, the one that we've got on the top here. Okay, so let's cut out that one first. So I've decided to stop there to just show you one of the errors you might want to run into. Of course, with our windows and doors, we want to get some really nice sharp corners, just like they are on a real building. So I'm following the line, but when I get to the line at the end, where it meets another one, I stop pushing. Then you just rotate the wood. So I've done that pretty much most of the shape, but on this last one here, I'm going to carry on pushing as I turn, and you'll see the difference. So the rule is stop, turn the wood, push again. If I don't do it, I'm going to end up with something like this, so you can see the difference. Oops, you can see the difference that happens. So I go along to the corner, stop, turn the wood, along, stop, turn the wood. And this last one here, I didn't stop pushing. I kept the pressure on as I was turning the wood, and you can see the result. So we don't want any of those on the corners of our house. I've deliberately done that to show you what happens if you don't stop and turn the wood. So option one, cutouts. You can cut out doors, windows, you can have long rectangular ones. You could even cut out a window in the roof space because you might have an attic room up there, what I call an attic room. So the options are yours, but my point is doing it now before the walls are assembled, you're going to find that a whole lot easier. Second window, I'm going to leave exactly as it is. I'm going to take some colored pencils. The blue pencil is particularly good for giving you the impression that there's glass in the window. if you just do a couple of sort of diagonal lines across there, it's a technique that graphic designers use to give the impression of glass. And either side of there, I'm just going to draw some curtains or some drapes that have been put on here. So I'm just going to go like that from the side and down. And I'm going to go like that from that side and down. And I might colour those in, put some dots on there, etc., etc. The design of this is entirely up to you. If you're copying your own house, of course, you're going to try and replicate what your own windows and doors look like. So on that one there, I've just drawn a couple of curtains on there to make that look like that's happening on the real window. Window number 3, I'm actually going to cut out separately and stick on. Now you might want to go for some of these because this is going to give you quite a nice 3D option. It'll look like your windows and doors are actually sticking out from the main house. So I found myself a piece of off-cut wood. I'm just going to measure the size on there, and I'm going to cut out now a piece. Before I stick it on, take out those rough edges that the saw generates. And this is where you're going to be with an adult to supervise you using our hot glue gun. Before I do that, I'm just going to put some, I just want this to look like a plain glass window. So I'm just going to put some shading of blue across there like so. I'm going to pop a little amount of hot glue on the back there. Don't go to the edges with your hot glue because when you press this down in a moment it's going to squeeze out from the sides. And I'm just going to stick that on there like so. So it looks more three-dimensional. It looks more like it's sticking out from the surface of the house. But again, the option is yours. So there's the 3 that you have. Cut out, drawn on, or cut out separately and stuck onto the surface. All right, and you decide how many and where the positions of that are. And the same rule applies for your door. Cut out and stick on, cut out right through, or even draw your door on. Okay, so back to having the 4 walls of my house now. I'm getting this the right way round. 1, 2, 3, like so. And this one like so. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and glue these together. And I'm just going to have one final check that I've got this the right way round on my house. These are not far off square, so it's very easy to get that the wrong way up. And if you glue it on wrong, you're going to have to snap it off and redo it. So I'm taking the time to check that I have in fact got this the right way round. So that's going to go there. And you can see on the little corner here what I meant earlier when I explained that one wall is going to go inside the other wall. Okay, so I know that that's going to go there. I've got that position clear in my mind. As I take this and put myself a line of glue down the outside. Back onto my tissue cube. The tissue cube is going to actually help keep this nice and vertical. So I'm squeezing it into the sides, making sure that's nice and positioned like so. It's 90 degrees on the corner there. Got a little bit of movement in that one because there's no other one on here yet, so that's bound to be a little bit weaker. If I just slide that away, there's our first corner of the box. See how this piece has gone inside the apex wall here. Going around now, I think what I'll do first, I'm going to make myself 2 L shapes. All right, I've got one L shape there. I'm going to make the L shape for this one before I put together the other 2 corners. So one more check, that's going to go there. Have I got this the right way round? It's in that position and it's not in that. Ooh, yep, that's the position there. Okay, this is going to go over there like so. So again, I know the position of that. Got it clear in my mind. I've made a mental note that that is the edge that I need to be sticking. It's not a disaster if you do this wrong because the glue is fairly soft. It wouldn't take too long at all to just pull that apart and glue it correctly. One of the things I did learn, doing this a few times now, is that if you put too much glue on there and leave it, it is possible to stick the edge of the tissue box in there. So don't leave that in there if you think there's going to be some excess glue that's going to catch the edge of the box. So now mine is cold. You can see I've got my two L shapes. This is what I mean by my L shape. Okay. This one's going to go inside and that one's going to go inside, and my house is ready to go together. So mental note of where I need to put the glue. It's that one there, like so. And at the same time, I'm going to put the other line of glue on, which I know goes on the inside of that wall. Press it on, squeeze them up into position. Remember, you have to be fairly quick using the glue gun because it's cooling down all the time. Rotate, quick check around here, I've got that. And all the time I'm making sure that things are flat on the table. So it's sitting nice and flat. I've got my four sides together. Does my house fit? Yes, it does. Okay. You can make it loose if you want. If I show you this one here, which was the demo height I showed you, this has been made really loose. And the idea of that is when the tissues run out, you simply just pick it up and it reveals the box. This one is going to lift up with the house, and you can just pop it out yourself, like so. Okay, so our house is together. We're going to go ahead now and do some planning of our roof space. So the roof, I think aesthetically, and looking at this, I think it makes more sense to have an overhang on the roof. How much of an overhang on here? You decide. You can put it so it's, let me try and demonstrate on here, so the roof sits exactly on the edge like that. I don't think that looks so nice. I'd like to put that a little bit further down so we've got an overhang, just like we do on real buildings. And also on the two end walls as well. You don't want this finishing, what we say, flush or level here, I don't think. I think you want that to be slightly forward. It just makes it more realistic. So bearing that in mind, you can go ahead now and you can start to plan out the pieces for your roof. You can take a ruler, and for me, I'm going to go 1 centimeter overhang. So if this comes to 13 across here, I'm going to cut a piece that's 15. So it's 13 plus 1 plus 1. So I know I need 15 by, I put my ruler right on the apex here, that point, right on the apex, and then I'm going to add a centimeter of overhang. So I've got 8 plus 1 is 9. So I know I need a piece 15 by 9. We're going to put that one on first. Do I have any pieces that might be, oh, that's lucky. That's a piece there, 9 wide. So I can go ahead and measure 15 the other way. And again, depending on what size your tissue box is, that will determine how much wood you personally are going to use on this project. For me, I think I'm going to get it out of 2 sheets. You might use a 3rd sheet. I'd be surprised if you can get this out of 1. But again, it's all determined by the size of tissue box that you buy. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece. Take away the rough edges before we go any further. I'm going to show you some graphic techniques when our structure is finished on how you can get roof tile effects and brick wall effects on there, which you might want to use. So this is my 15 by 9. We can see that's going to go on there, and that's going to overhang nicely. And this first one, I'm lining up with the apex. And what I mean by that is it's going level with this point, not over, not below, level with that point, level with the back point, and that's where we're going to stick it. We're not going to do that yet because remember we need to do the scoop that enables us to grab the tissues. All right, but what I am going to do, I am going to put 4 little dots of glue to temporarily fix this into place, which is going to help me. So I'm just going to put that on there, gently press it into place, and those 4 little dots are just going to tack that into place for a moment while I measure the other side. So For the second side of our roof, we're not only going to have to take it to the apex point, we're going to have to overlap the sheet that we've just put on. If I can demonstrate using this piece of wood, if we put that to the apex point there, we're going to have this, it's a little unsightly in my opinion, it's like a V shape along there. We want this one to go over and cover this sheet as well. So again, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to include that this time in my measurements, and I know that I need 9 and 2 centimeters, so 92 millimeters down, and again the 15 will be the same. Okay, so I'm going to put this out of a new piece here, and if you remembered, I needed 15. Now remember, when you do marking out on these pieces, you've already got some really nice straight sides, so make use of them. 15 there and 15 down here is going to make sure that I get a nice parallel line. So marking it with my 2 pencil points, that's my 15. Now I said I needed 9 plus a couple, so that's 92 millimeters. This time we want to cover the edge of that wood there, remember, and 92 there. And when I join these two up, that is the size of my second roof piece right there, which I'm going to go ahead and put now. Quick check, line that up, yeah, that's going to fit fine. It goes along there, like so. So I know I've got my second piece of the roof cut to the right size. So now's the time for you to think about that scoop on there that's going to allow you to take out the tissues. It's entirely up to you. You could use a household object. I've got a length of tape here that I just might want to squeeze and make it more of an oval. And I'm just going to place that on there. And with my pencil, draw around that scoop. I've made sure, just by eye, I've got the same distance in from the edge and the same in from the edge. So this is pretty central. I'm going to cut this one out first, and I'm going to use it as a template to mark and cut the other one. Okay. So we've just done some arc or curve or path cutting, which is different to straight line cutting. The secret is that your blade must always stay vertical. We get students pushing the blade from the side because they think they're going to have to go around the corner. No, the blade stays upright all the time. It's the wood that moves. So as you're cutting, make sure you're constantly looking at that. And if your blade is doing this or this, you're doing it wrong. Leave the blade vertical and turn the wood. Okay. So I'm going to use that shape. Put my second roof space on there first so I can see where the cutout come from. I'm going to make myself 2 little pencil lines on there. So I'm going to use this shape to place on those pencil lines and mark out the same arc on this one. And because I used those 4 little spots of glue earlier, I'm just going to undo those, pop that off, cut this one out. Again with my sandpaper, just taking out the roughness left by the saw blade around that side so I don't get them mixed up. And this is the one that's going around this side. Okay, before we go ahead and stick those on, I'm going to get into some graphical techniques for you and showing you some quick, easy ways in which you can put tiles and brickwork on your house. So for this one, I'm going to use myself a brown crayon, and I'm just going to draw on here. This is going to look like this surface. Just going to draw on here a whole series of parallel lines going lengthways along the roof. Okay, you can decide on the distance of these, how far apart they are. I'm going to make mine fairly well spaced apart. So, like so, you can either do it by eye or you can take your time to measure these. And all we're doing is some nice straight lines, the length of the roof. So that one is there. And I might just have space for one more. Yeah. So my tiles are fairly big and chunky on this roof, quite wide apart. You can decide on your own design. So now when I put these vertical lines in, it's a method of missing out every space. So if I show you now, I'm going to put, keeping your ruler parallel with the edge, nice and straight, one vertical line. But I don't do a vertical line in the next gap. I miss and I go there. I miss and I go there. So I hope you see what I mean by missing one out. I go vertical miss, vertical miss, vertical miss. When I move the ruler along then, I'm going to put a line where I missed previously. So, line in here because I didn't have one. Line in here because I didn't have one. And a line at the bottom. And you can already start to see the shape of the tiles start to appear now. Move the ruler along, decide how big you want your tiles to be, and just repeat the process. There, I don't have room here because I cut it out for my scoop. There, I'm going to put one, miss, there, like so, and along you go. And you'll carry on doing that until you finish the whole piece. I've done two little designs on here just to show, give you an idea. I've done very fine small ones. I've done big grey coloured slate ones. You could even draw these on by hand if you wish. You could make them a little slightly out of line so it looks like a much older roof with a bit more character. Once you've got your lines on there, you might want to take your coloured pencil sideways and just shade the top of the roof. Alright, I'm losing the pencil on its side. Don't try and do this with the nib of the pencil. Let me show you the difference. If you use the nib of the pencil, you're going to end up with a sharp line like that. And especially if you go in lots of different directions, tilt the pencil on its side and go in the same direction and you will achieve flat, smooth colour. I'm not making it too dark because I want my roof tiles to show through. So I'm just putting on some gentle shading so the line of the roof tile, the dark brown line I put on earlier, shows through. Okay. Same can be done on your side walls. Let me just show you here. There we go. How to highlight bricks, but you can do those in patches. You don't have to feel as if you need to do the entire wall. It's exactly the same routine. So for me, I'm going to tilt that sideways, put that on there. I'm just going to do a patch of brickwork here. Line, line, and these ones don't need to be entirely in line. I'm just going to do maybe 4 or 5 lines like so. Turning my ruler sideways or even freehand, I'm just going to go line, miss, line, one there, one there, one there, one there. Keeping in mind where you missed previously, and it'll create a patch of brickwork on your house. Take your pencil, shade over the surface, and it'll give you the impression of house bricks. Okay, so it's assembly time for me now. I've got my tissues in. Final check where I wanted that to go, which was the one with the 4 spots on it. It was this one. The old glue is still there, so I'm just going to pick that off. I'm going to put this one on first. Now this time I'm going to put my glue down the edges of the house. Whoops. So down here. and down here. And then this one will pop on like so. Get it in position. You get a couple of seconds just to do it while the glue is still hot. Pushing down so that's nice and firm. Take the second piece of my roof, and this time I'm going to go along the roof edge, down the side of the apex wall, down the side of the apex wall. So there's 4 lines of glue you put on the second piece. Hold it in place, line it up, push it home. Apply a little bit of pressure, not much, just hold that in place 20 seconds or so till you feel like the glue has set. Tissues pop out through the top, and we have our tissue box house. Mine incomplete, of course. I've given you the techniques that you need to complete yours. Roof design, brick design, windows and doors. You can now go ahead and create your very own tissue box house. Have fun. So I hope you enjoyed our latest Studio Lab tutorial of tissue box house in this case. Remember that you can get all the details on the descriptions below. You can come along to our centre here on Shakeside Road, Times Square, first floor. You can do all your projects here with us, or you can take advantage of our home hire system where we will deliver you your own machine, your own pieces of wood and other materials that you need to do this at home at your leisure. Hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.